this video I'm going to show you how to knit the purl stitch in the Greek way, which is a very easy way to knit. The first thing you should do is to take your yarn and wrap it around your neck. This is the way we knit in Greece. So what you have is you have the needle with your cast on stitches on your left hand, and you have the working yarn on your right hand, and also you can wrap the working yarn around your small finger or just support it like this. The first thing you should do in order to start knitting is to cast on your stitches. I have already cast on my stitches. I have cast on 22 stitches, but if you have watched my tutorial on how to cast on your stitches, I am going to undo these last two, and now we are ready to start knitting the purl stitch. I decided to show you how to knit the purl stitch because this is the easiest one, I think. Also, I have used a bigger size needle in order to cast on my stitches. If you are a beginner, this is a good way because it's easier for you to insert your needle for the first row. The first row is always the most difficult. Another trick I would like to share with you before I start knitting is that you should always create a gauge swatch before you start your project. This is very important because if, for example, you need a sweater or something that needs to be the exact size, if you don't create a swatch, you might end up with the wrong size. But for projects that accuracy is not very important, like scarves, let's say, there is a trick in order to know how many stitches you need for the size. So what you do is that you stretch the stitches as much as you can, and if you measure your stitches when they are stretched, they give you roughly the stitches that you need in order to have this size. I mean, for here I have cast on, let's say, 20 stitches because I'm going to drop these two. So when I knit the pattern with my 20 stitches, I will have 14 centimeters of my knitting project. I will check it later again. Now we are ready to start knitting our purl stitches. The first thing you should do is place your yarn on your right hand like this, or if you prefer another way, it's okay. And then this working yarn should be between your thumb and your index finger of your right hand. And then you're going to lift your left needle with your left hand and hold it like this. And then you are going to insert your right needle, your working needle, here. In a way, you create an X with your two needles, or your right needle is on the left needle. And now you are ready to wrap the yarn around the right needle, the working needle. In the Greek way, we use our thumb to do this. So we place our yarn like this here, and then we pull the yarn around the needle, the right needle, and then we support our yarn with the index of our right hand, and I'm going to rotate my right needle and in this way grab the loop I have just made, and then I'm going to slip the loop that is on my left needle
off, and in this way we have created our first purl stitch. So we insert our right needle like this. The tip of the needle should be pointing upwards. We use our thumb in order to wrap the yarn around the right needle, and then we pull this needle under the yarn, and in this way we have created this new stitch, and we slip the stitch into the right hand needle. I hope you understand the way we do it. So we insert the needle through the loop and keep it crossed, and now wrap the yarn around the working needle, the right needle, and then create a new loop, and then scoop that new loop off and through this loop that's on the left hand needle. Now I will knit some purl stitches without talking, so just please follow what I do. Now I'm almost at the end of my row, and as I said, these first two stitches, if you cast on in the Greek way, I will let them drop, and when I finish my project I will weave in these ends. And now I'm ready to start my next row. I have finished my first row of purl stitches and I'm ready to start my second row. Every time I start a new row, what I do is that I don't knit this first stitch, I just slip it on my right needle, on my working needle, and now I am ready to start knitting my purl stitches. So I will insert my knitting needle like this from the right to the left. The tip of the needle should be pointing upwards, and then with my thumb I'm going to flip my yarn around the needle. I'm going to rotate the needle a little bit and in this way create a new loop, and then I'm going to slip this loop onto my working needle to the right, and again insert your needle, wrap your yarn, pull up your needle and slip your stitch to the needle on the right. I'm going to work this row like this in the same way. So please continue knitting your purl stitches and I will meet you at the end of the row. So I have finished my second row of purl stitches. I'm going to go on and knit a few more rows just to show you how the purl stitches look. What I'm going to do is to grab my needle with my knitting project with my left hand and start knitting feeding my stitches to my working needle on the right. I'm going to continue in the same way. First, I'm going to slip the first stitch on my working needle, and then I will continue knitting my purl stitches. I'm going to crochet a few more rows, and then I will meet you in order to tell you a few things about the purl stitches. So I have crocheted a few rows of just purl stitches. As you can see, the purl stitches create this bumpy texture in your knitting project. The purl stitches is one of the two basic knitting stitches. If you know how to knit the purl and the knit stitches, then you know almost everything in knitting. I mean, you can knit just about everything. If you remember, at the beginning I told you that you should always check your gauge swatch, but I showed you a trick. Now it's time to check if it's correct. I said that if you don't need to be very accurate, then a good way to know how many stitches to cast on is to just stretch your stitches and check the width. So I used 20 cast on stitches, and these 20 cast on stitches were 14 centimeters. So now let's check if my project is also 14 centimeters. So as you can see, it's about 14 centimeters. So this is a good way to know the size of your finished project. But if you need something that needs to be the exact size, always need swatch. So this is the way we knit the purl stitch in the Greek way. I think it's a very easy way to do it because you just use your thumb, so you don't need to do any extra movements, so it works up very quickly. The next thing you should learn is how to knit the knit stitch. So my next tutorial will be on the knit stitch. If you liked my tutorial, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I hope to see you soon in one of my videos. Thanks for watching and bye for now.